One more time.
Yeah, it's definitely begin.
Vasily, tell us about your career track.
Hi, Julia. Thank you for this question and thank you for doing this interview. I've been working as a product manager for the last almost 20 years. I wish I could tell you it was an overnight success, but as it happens with many people, it's just long time of incremental improvement slowly gets you better. I started back in 2003 in Russia, in Moscow, working on technology company, doing basically business worldwide. Since then, I moved to United States to study back in 2008. It was Stanford Business School in California. I was passionate about going to Silicon Valley again because all the technology is born there and the biggest and most successful products are kind of out of Silicon Valley. And then since then, I've been basically doing Silicon Valley product management career for the last 10, 11 years now. Most recently, 7 years around transportation with companies such as Uber, Tesla, and most recently Waymo doing autonomous transportation. And recently has just switched into financial services. But yes, it's been a long and exciting path.
That's great. And what do you think are the essential personal qualities that are valuable on the market these days?
Yeah, if as you talk about product management, obviously there's some skills specific to product managers that are valuable. Some of those would be curiosity, general intelligence, persistence, perseverance. You need to be able to align multiple stakeholders, motivate the team, envision what you guys are trying to do, and how to do it with minimum resources. So there is plenty. Talking about more generically, like not everyone is a product manager or even wants to be a product manager. I think one peculiarity with today's world is there is just so much unknown and there is just so much uncertainty and craziness that no one really understands everything that's happening and even much less what's going to be happening in the future. So you need to be able to understand that you're going to be like failing a lot in your attempts to understand things and in your kind of like again attempts to get things done. So persistence and perseverance, I would say, are the two skills and personality traits which are becoming increasingly more important, and you just won't succeed without those two.
Okay. And what fields would you consider as best to work or invest in?
Yeah, that's another great question. I would give a very general answer. Whatever is meaningful to you and whatever makes sense to you. So this is very personal choice. There are some frameworks for meaning. Meaning is a tough thing to explain, and there are some frameworks. I like the Japanese framework of Ikigai, which basically tells you like do something that matches several criteria, and some of those criteria are what are you good at, what you love to do, what the world needs, and what you can make money out of, right? So there's like those four things. And the intersection of those four things is different for everyone. For me, product management, I love it, right? There is a lot more products, a lot more digital tools, lots of people on earth who get connected. But talking about this, there is COVID going on right now, right? Like if you have a passion to become a doctor, if you have a passion to become a scientist, to come up with all the great vaccines, definitely go do this. The world needs it. You will be able to make money out of it. And if you're good at it and if you like it, just go for it. So those are just two examples. If you like to drive a truck, well, this one is a little bit tougher because you might like it, you might be really good at it, and the world kind of needs it. But like whether you're going to be able to make money out of it 10 years from now, that's not clear. So that's, I guess, I'm just explaining to you how you would use a framework to analyze whether you go in a given field or not. But there's plenty of great things to do.
Thank you. And what do you think are the most required jobs of the future?
Yeah, as I just recently stated, no one knows really what the future holds, but there are several things which are obvious to us. Like those problems have been with us for hundreds of years and they've never been solved really well. So some of them just for us to think about again. In the COVID times, I probably don't need to tell you again that healthcare and generally well-being, including mental well-being, are really important areas. Whoever is considering to be a doctor or a scientist will definitely be making a good choice. Of problem spaces which are closer to me and my basically field of work and field of study, I worked on transportation. Transportation has lots of issues. I spent 10 years on it, solving first taxi problems, then electrification problems of the vehicle, most recently autonomy. In each of those, there is plenty and plenty of broken things. Like, let's start with transportation being ridiculously unsafe. More than 1 million people losing their lives on the roads every single day, every single year. So if you are working on the problems that will make those like number of accidents go down, obviously it's an important thing to do. And then finally, everything that's digital, everything that's connecting us, everything that educates us, those are going to be very high demand fields. The world is again big, 7 billion people out there going up, largely uneducated, lack of teachers, lack of educational materials. So all of that stuff is kind of quickly going online. And if you are considering one of those fields, you will be doing something that the world needs, and I hope you will be successful.
What business books would you recommend?
It's another great question. I'll start with, in business, you learn through doing more than you learn through reading. Early on in your career, again, reading books helps. It gives you some important frameworks. It probably shows you cases when things worked well, when things did not work well. But the most important piece I want to say is your mindset should be around whatever you know. Don't think of it as a like ultimate truth. The truth might be completely different, and no one might know. My personal preference on business books, I like Andy Grove's couple books I'm going to give you. One is High Output Management. That's basically, if I'm not mistaken, the book from 1970s or even earlier that first explained how you manage people for the output. Like, and it proposed the approach to management which is largely used in Silicon Valley and worldwide today, such as one-on-one, such as performance reviews, operational reviews, etc. So it's kind of impressive that it sticked for more than 50 years as of now, and it was born again out of one of the most exciting Silicon Valley founders and CEOs. And then another book from the same person, again two from one person because I probably just admire him too much. Only Paranoid Survives. The reason I love this one is there is just too many inspirational books that just go do what you love and you're going to be successful, etc. And sometimes it works this way, but in many cases it just doesn't. So I think Andy Grove's approach is more realistic in a way that being paranoid is kind of something you have to be doing, especially when you're early on in a startup company. You gotta be questioning everything, and you gotta be assuming that everything could possibly go wrong. And being paranoid is just like checking, double checking, triple checking all your assumptions all the time is definitely something that pays off. And then finally, just to not talk about overall biographies and the works by successful founders and successful CEOs make sense to read. In addition to that, Mark Andreessen, who was both a business person and now he's a VC, had a series of essays on entrepreneurship and investment. Those are available online. I don't know if they were published as a paper book, but definitely go read those. There is plenty of exciting content, and he also challenges conventional wisdoms quite a bit.
Okay, then, let's talk about product management. Could you please describe who is a product manager?
Yeah, that's a very hard question. I guess different product managers will give you different answers. I'll start with first, it's a person who makes things happen, and it's the person who's responsible for all success or failure of the team's output. And by team, again, there are very different products. In digital product management that I'm a part of, the team generally consists of 5 key digital functions. One is the product manager himself or herself. One is an engineer, one is data scientist, one is a designer, and one is a researcher. So those are the 5 key functions that make digital teams run. Recently, digital products are becoming more and more ingrained with physical world. So the operations is another function which I would probably call out specifically. So there is 5+1. And again, the product manager is the one who gets this team aligned, who gets this team motivated and excited, inspired to get things done, who bears full responsibility for success or failure of what the team does. And ultimately, that's the person who comes up with ideas on what needs to be done, on how exactly this needs to be done, what problem it solves. Product manager is largely about the problem. That's his or her key responsibility to come up with a problem statement, advocate for the team that the problem is severe, large in size, and important, and then ultimately it's responsibility of your team to go and solve the problem. So yeah, the product manager is a problem not solver, but problem statement crafter, like someone who comes up with problem statements and excites and motivates his or her team to get things done.
And why do you think the product manager profession became popular recently? And who did that job before the position of a product manager appeared?
Yeah, I see a number of different reasons. First, this job is not new by any means. It existed for quite a while. But you're right, in many fields it was not necessary. For example, an engineer alone could previously have created some great product and just be an overnight success. This day still happens, but again, the product manager role in overall success is going up. I see several possible reasons for this. Those are all just hypotheses. One is the overall complexity of, again, the world is getting a lot more complex, the products are getting a lot more advanced. All the most simple problems and simple products have already been built. The new things are generally being built in a lot more complex ways, solving more complex problems. So you need to be managing a lot more complexity than before. And by managing this complexity, like I just told you about 5 different functions you have on your team, plus the operations, etc. So there must be someone who comprehends all this complexity, can decompose it into factors, can simplify it, and again, can help the team even understand what's happening and what we should be doing about it. That's normally product manager's responsibility. Again, understand the problem, decompose it, motivate the team. Then for outside aspect, there is also a crazy world outside of your team and outside of all the complexity you're managing in your team, such as in corporate world, it's stakeholders of all kinds. You might have business stakeholders, legal stakeholders, like all kinds of different stakeholders who have interest in your product. Or if you do things like not the way it should be done, then you can create additional risks for the company or problems for those stakeholders. So you need to be, again, aware of them. You need to be able to manage them, and you need to get those people aligned as well. So alignment is a key word for the product manager. So yeah, as a response to this crazy complexity of the world, both inside of your team and outside of your team, I guess product manager role is becoming increasingly more important to understand this complexity and to get the team run in this crazy world.
Which hard and soft skills should a product manager have nowadays?
I think we partially touched on this previously when we discussed what skills you generally need in life to succeed. I'll reiterate again the importance of persistence and perseverance. And persistence is just keep doing one thing over and over, you're going to get better in it. And then perseverance is when things just don't go the right way, which they usually don't. You just fall and then you like stand up and you fall and you stand up again. It's just like you just basically need to be able to stand up each time you fall. This way success will ultimately come your way. You're gonna be the last man standing. Forrest Gump is a great movie on that topic if you want to watch it. I guess his whole success, he has never been the brightest guy. He has never been actually best in anything, but he was just ridiculously persevering in what he did, and he became an ultimate success. So talking about like soft skills, as I just mentioned, you need to be able to align your stakeholders on common vision, and the vision usually comes from you. That takes plenty of soft skills. It takes a understanding what really matters and what people think about it, then understanding what could possibly work, what could possibly not work for each of those people on your team and outside your team, and again ultimately come up with an approach that will make you and the team successful. That usually takes a mix of hard and soft skills, but soft skills come especially handy. And then again, on top of this persistence perseverance approach, curiosity and general intelligence. I'm not gonna stop repeating this. You have to be curious. You cannot just assume that you know all the answers because the world is too complex and changing too quickly. And intelligence, like you gotta be smart. Like being dumb is just probably gonna stop you in your attempts to understand the world. So generally, try to educate yourself and keep learning as long as you're still alive.
Great. So, who are some people in the industry that you admire and what for?
I'll give a general answer first instead of calling out names because there is lots of names being thrown out. I admire the founders the most because they take risks and they take risks of all kinds. Those are risks of not getting paid, risks of getting mentally vulnerable, and like all kinds of risks. This is very admirable people in a very hard job to do. More than just founders. I admire founders going after hard problems, which are sometimes not the sexiest ones, and honestly, like not the problems that pay the most money or get most venture financing attractive. But those are the problems which are needed by humanity to be solved. back connecting this to this ikigai concept that I raised early on, the four things must be there in for you to be fulfilled and for you to be finding the meaning. Some of those are what you love, what you do well, and what the world pays for. But the fourth really important one is what the world needs. So whoever people who are getting this fourth seriously and going after those problems, I do admire them. I can call out Elon Musk's name, just again, he's obviously all in the media for all the reasons, but he's kind of solving the problems which are important. Lots of people solving the COVID problem right now. I definitely admire them, and hopefully this will bring us into a much better future. Overall, people solving hard transportation problems close to my area of responsibility, I do admire them. And those are the problems of autonomy. Those are the problems of vehicles being more clean, environmentally friendly, vehicles being more safe, etc. Like those are just some examples. But founders solving hard problems that the world needs solved, I admire them a lot.
Do you think it's possible to create a perfect product?
I think your mindset should be aimed at perfection. It's one of the values I personally share deeply. Is like never settle, keep doing things better and better, all like over and over again. So that's definitely important. In real life, the question is, should you be going after perfection or not? And we were going to be talking about minimum viable products in our class in a bit, which kind of goes against the concept of perfection. It goes into the concept of what is good enough and what makes most sense. I think as I look into the products which are getting most success in the market, usually those products are far from perfection, right? They're like not perfect at all. If you look at all the biggest companies, like Apple products these days maybe seem like perfect, but honestly they were like nothing like that early on. Facebook, Google, like each of those products, they do one thing well, right? The thing that they're supposed to be doing well, such as Google search or Facebook connecting you to friends, arguably yes, they do those things well, but there's so many other things they don't really do well. They're just still trying to figure it out. So yeah, the answer is perfection as a mindset. Going after perfection and keep improving is important. You don't settle on mediocre experiences, you always keep improving. At the same time, what gets you to success is normally not quite the perfection. It's just the fit with what people need. And if the problem is too severe, you don't need a perfect product to be successful. You just need it to be good enough.
Great. What are your favorite techniques for idea generation?
That's another great question. So, great ideas require you being exposed to great amount of different environments and circumstances. So I deeply believe that environment is important for quality of ideas. In addition to the environment, obviously there is some again hard underlying factors, like if you read more books, if you talk to more people, if you generally like follow news and generally understand what's happening in lots of areas, your ideas are going to be higher quality because you like generally you start with more rich set of inputs. But my approach to coming up with more ideas, etc., I try to put myself into like variety of very different situations in terms of, for example, people. I maintain connections with very different kinds of people from very different social networks, coming from very different places and very different religious beliefs, origins. Like I have like pretty substantial diversity in the people I communicate with that allows me to come up with ideas which are obviously much less obvious and much more interesting. On top of that, I try to put myself in different environments, be it geographically, like be in different countries, talk to people in different languages, walk different parts of the city. Even if you take the city, you can go to the downtown, or you can go to some remote places, and you can go to an art gallery, or you can go to, I don't know, some kind of museum of, like, I don't know, seaside, for example, like the Museum of Ships. Like there is just so many different things you could be going after, but generally variety in your experiences will cause variety in your ideas. That's my approach to this.
How can one use a product approach in daily routine? Could you give some examples?
Yes, I think the big problem we have in life as well as in product management often is just coming up with solutions before we even understand what the problem is. And again, happens everywhere, right? Like happens in sometimes I watch like State Duma or some like regulators talking about things. Like people just get to solutions way too fast. Everyone debates solutions like what about if we do that, what about if we do this, what about if we do it this way, that way, etc. So that to me is actually a huge problem in the world today, like the debates around things which are questionable to start with, before debating the problem that you're trying to solve, are the big world problem that can be solved with more product managers taking charge in more fields. The essence of the product manager role, as we just discussed, is to understand the problem. What is the problem? Is it big? Is it important? Can it be solved? What kind of ways it can be solved, etc. Then, in addition to the problem, you need to understand the root cause, because there is so many different things that could be causing this thing, and it could be a combination of multiple factors, and it could be things that you control and things that you don't control. So ultimately, until you understand the problem, until you understand the root causes, it's never a good idea to even approach the solutioning. And in the real world, I see that happening very rarely. What I see all the time is just solutions, solutions, solutions. This is mine, this is yours, let's debate it. This is not a good approach. Try to be more as a product manager, try to think more of a problem, try to think more of a root cause, and then ultimately you will have a debate on what solutions are. This way we're gonna get into a much better place in our world.
Amazing. Could you tell us how do you keep work-life balance?
It's another great question. Some people believe there is no such thing as work-life balance. All your life is work, and all your work is life. I'm not gonna say if I fully share that approach or not, but it's close to me. Like normally, you need some kind of balance. I don't think this balance is as simple as you book certain hours and those hours are life and the other hours are work. I think the way you could be getting closer to this balance is you decide what type of activities require you being present, like mentally and physically in some place, and what kind of activities do not. And sometimes this approach can actually, like starting with again the problem and figuring out what the solutions to that problem could be. Sometimes you learn that you actually can be equally as successful as you are today by applying a lot less effort, right? And this extra effort can be put into additional learnings, into additional communication, etc. And the way, for example, it works for me is there are some shortcuts. Like if you think of stuff that you need to do today for like 5 or 10 minutes, then somehow your brain magically has done pre-processing during the night, and tomorrow it's a lot easier for you to get into the working state, etc. So there's some shortcuts. They're not going to take you into magic place, but some of those shortcuts you could be using to get your work-life balance improved. And yes, generally, to get anything hard done, you do need to do a lot of work. There is no magic amount to reduce amount of work and live happy life, and at the same time be successful.
And how has learning helped you in your career?
Um, Definitely, without learning, I wouldn't be anywhere where I am today, and I definitely don't expect to keep doing well without learning. I think it has been the case a long time ago. It's just becoming more and more conventional wisdom these days. Is that the world is increasingly crazier. It's not just crazy; it's just getting increasingly crazier. 10 years ago, it was much simpler. Probably 10 years from now, it's going to be even more complex. The only way for you to deal with this complexity is obviously keep learning, and then also keep learning what complexity is important and what complexity is not. So yeah, I don't know if that's a good question or not, but yes, for me personally, I wouldn't get nearly as far as I am. I'm lucky that I do like it, and I think every one of us should like learning as long as we find some area, some field of study we enjoy, right? So the important thing is for you to figure out what you like. If you like it, you should be able to put a lot of hours into this, lots of effort into this, and again, back to persistence and perseverance, they will get you into a good place.
And what does a lifelong learning concept mean to you?
I think it pretty much means what it says in its title. Lifelong means it never stops. It kind of never starts. You always, even by the time like you get born, you already learned quite a bit because you keep learning even in the womb. But yeah, lifelong learning means learning is not about universities. It's not about textbooks. It's not about the degrees. It is about getting better. It is about figuring out what you care about, figuring out what you're missing today to solve problems in those areas, and how you could go about this. Learning never stops. If you are interested enough, if you're curious enough, if you're going after complex problems, you will need to keep getting better over and over and over again. The only thing that changes about learning is your approach to it and the techniques. These days we get luxury of plenty of online materials. We got YouTube, which has pretty much every bit of knowledge you could imagine. So I think the way you learn, they change. The importance of learning has always been there. Arguably it's getting more important these days. But yeah, you live as long as you learn. You learn as long as you live. So that's life learning.
What do you think helped you achieve what you have today?
Um, well, first, there is a lot more to be achieved, to be honest. I'm quite proud of what I was able to accomplish so far. There is several components to it. One is always luck, and I think people don't talk about it enough, so I'll probably just mention it up front. Like in everything we end up doing, there is a share of lucks. I There is a book, I don't remember the name, but it kind of talks about 4 different kinds of luck. So not all luck is the same. So I'll probably go a little bit deeper into that. So some luck is just purely luck. Like you just walk and you found $100, and like there is no skill that you put into this luck. But some luck is materially different from that. Like for example, if you walk like 5 miles, you're more likely to find $100 than if you walk a mile. Like for example, the amount of time you spend looking and like walking is impacting your luck. And ultimately in life, as you keep going and you keep doing things you enjoy and keep doing more complex, interesting things, you start meeting people and you start getting exposed yourself to situations which again to other people may seem like luck, but in fact it's not. It's a result of luck combined with some work and some time investment. But on top of luck, there is definitely hard work that needs to be done. It's very uncommon that you just win in a lottery, which is an example of pure luck, and get set for life. It usually does take quite a bit of hard work. And then the third magic component, I think, figuring out what you enjoy doing. This one is tricky. Sometimes people say find your passion and just do what you're passionate about. I don't agree with this. To me, like again, the concept of ikigai is probably more appropriate in this case, although it's also not precise. So it's not just about your passion, it's about intersection of 4 different things. Some of them are what the world needs, what pays money, and what you're good at. But you cannot be good at something you hate. Like that's the pretty simple thing to say. So unless you find something you enjoy and you like doing, you won't be able to keep going for a long time and apply lots of effort. So it's about luck, it's about hard work, and it's about learning what you like. Those are the 3 things.
And finally, why did you choose to join Ultima?
That's another great question. I love the people who approached me, and honestly, when I look at the idea behind Ultima School, first it's an online, like it's an education worldwide. So the school competes with global players in education, and it's always exciting to be playing in a global market. So that aspect to it is really important to me, and I want to help this cause as well as it helps me find interesting people and improve myself in key areas such as product management. So on top of all that, I want those types of stories to be happening more frequently. Actually, at the time I was in business school, I was excited. There was a story about Singapore, which was like super small country, and like it didn't have market for most of the products and services. Just not enough people. You cannot be successful in this type of market. And there was a case about Singapore Airlines that the airline was built from the very beginning to service the international market. Like they didn't even fly inside the country, etc. So I think Ultima bears some similarity to that case that I got inspired during my business school times, where it goes after international market. It has roots in the same country I'm coming from, right? It has founder in Russia and has people with Russian origin. So I want to see more stories like this, and if I put my small effort to help Ultima be successful, hopefully more people will try to do something like that. That will start building products, going after global market while being born in Russia, former Soviet Union, any other country, to be honest. But yes, those are the things that matter to me, and then I'm happy to help you guys.
Thank you. That was it.
Cool. Thanks, everyone.
Okay.
Was it more than 10 minutes? I guess it was more, but probably not too long, right?
32 minutes, that was.
30, but there were some pauses there. Probably 20, I think, overall.
Yeah, I'm just gonna